I think a lot of people would assume District 6 is a very rich district because it has Central Park, it has Lincoln Center, it has that sort of area of very high-priced real estate. But I think people oftentimes forget that there are several housing projects that line Amsterdam Avenue that also encompass the district.
New York City, and this neighborhood is a lot more divided than people think. And despite it being the Upper West Side and a bastion of sort of liberalism and a place where equality really matters, there's a lot of inequality right here, block by block in this neighborhood.
We're blessed that we have two world-class parks at Riverside and Central Park here. A city budget is difficult. Parks is never going to be a priority, which is too bad. You know, you would want your city council person to fight for that as much as possible. It's becoming increasingly white, young, family affluent. There are fewer senior citizens, fewer people of color, fewer single people, you know, artists, that sort of people that used to populate the neighborhood more than they do now.
They have good schools in the area as well. You also have a lot of working class people in this area that live in affordable housing.
Transportation is certainly something we're very blessed to have a great mass transit system on the west side. But, you know, the 3 lines are overcrowded and they're not always running. The loss of mom and pop stores and retail establishments, it is incredible to see sort of the empty store fronts along Columbus Avenue and Amsterdam Avenue. But I think there are a lot of neighbors who want to see making sure their streets are safe and their streets are clean, and actually getting things done.
Real estate rent across the board in New York City is becoming really difficult for people who aren't locked into long-term leases or they don't own their own building. Talking to some people in the district, they're definitely concerned about the influx of foreign cash that's driving up their ability to rent apartments or purchase apartments. I think for people in the housing projects, their issues are sort of the standard issues that you hear in every other district. So the quality of housing, quality of schools, there tends to be a little more crime in those sort of pocketed sections. So many of those housing projects are sitting on prime real estate. For many of these families who unfortunately are in generational poverty, but they're making a living in New York only because they're in public housing. Even though, when you sort of scratch the surface, public housing is not that cheap.
When I talk to residents that's been in this building like 30, 40 years, they tell me it's the same old problem. Nothing changes. A lot of issues in this building. They are afraid to use the elevators because they're afraid of getting stuck. Not even the elderly, even the kids that come in from school.
Preserving a stock of housing for the non-wealthy to keep this neighborhood as diverse as possible and as artistic as possible is central to its character, to its well-being. We're losing people because of higher rents. So that, to me, is a central issue. Locally owned businesses are receding year by year. It changes the character, and it's a loss.
To really make sure that they're representing the entire district, not just the voters, not just the wealthy people, not just the corporate interests, which are, you know, the whole Lincoln Center complex of the Met and the theater complexes and the Jazz and Juilliard and everything else. Little things like that, I think, make a huge difference.
I would want my city council person to listen, to having a good rapport with the residents. Let people know that you're here, not only around election time, that you're there all the time.
Keeping up the legal protections to keep people here and keeping a stock of low and middle income housing is difficult, but that's what I would want my city council person to work for.
The Upper West Side is very known for political clubs and deep histories and things. I would want my elected official to be willing to look at everyone and make judgments that are not just based on political expediency, but also based on sort of what their gut is telling them and what they feel is the right thing to do for the neighborhood.